Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we are back in Space Engineers, taking a look at our dropship design that we've been working on. It's actually been a couple of weeks since we last did a video on this, but still altogether we've probably done about 7 days, maybe 8 days worth of work on the design. Mind you, that's not full days, but 7 to 8 days of casual gaming time towards improving the design. Now, so what we have here is the last two variants I've shown you in the previous video. The atmospheric, I believe this is the, let's see, yep, the 4D and the 4E. The 4E was our design to make it enter atmosphere, where it goes back up to ship in orbit and back down. And of course, the D was the pretty much final design for in atmosphere. So, when we were working on the E variant, tweaking it to get it all set up for, of course, travel from the orbital ships to the surface and back and forth, we ended up scrapping the design here. As you see, we have the double hydrogen thruster there. We ended up scrapping that and the ion thrusters on it, and we came up with a new design that we've now dubbed as the Mark V altogether, and this is pretty much the final design for the ship. So basically, think about it, it took a week's worth of gaming regularly within the Space Engineers to go from our shoddy original design up to what we have here. Now, let's take a look at the changes here. First thing you'll notice is that we've went ahead and put on the atmospheric engines on the wings again. We actually did some testing and found out that those will pretty much level it out at about 3,200 meters off the surface on their own, just the atmospheric engine, so you can actually just catapult this into the atmosphere and just level it out so that you are facing the horizon, and about 3,200 meters you will pretty much come to a complete stop. Now you'll see we've moved the guns on it. They're actually underslung where the thrusters were previously. There's only 4. You'll also notice there's a large number of small hydrogen thrusters on it. There's 2 for each facing minimum. And there's even a small one, as you can see, right down there. On each, the wings, basically, that gives us extra lift. Now you'll notice we've completely changed the rear engines. They are no longer atmospheric, they're completely hydrogen. And of course there's 8 of them total. We do have the 1 atmospheric in there, in case you do run out of fuel, which you shouldn't really. From our test, it should have plenty of fuel to go to the surface and back again. And we've even mapped our hydrogen thruster groups separately. As you can see, half of the forward-facing ones are on, half of the rear hydrogen thrusters are on. It is set up so that you can turn either group off, the upper group or lower group, or all of them together. And of course that is already mapped to the controls in the cockpit, and the same for the hydrogen thrusters and every other facing. They are all set up so that you can disable them to save fuel and just switch to pure atmospheric thrusters, which we have a combination thereof on the sides, as you can see. What we've done beyond that is we went ahead and moved our connector back. There's actually a medium cargo container right where that connector is, and that goes into the large hydrogen tank, which is in the center under the solar panel. Forward of that, there's 6 gyroscopes, there's our 6 batteries again, and there's of course a oxygen tank we've added this time, since this is meant to go not just in an atmosphere, which we really should have had it in the first place on the original designs, because not every planet actually has a breathable atmosphere. So there's an oxygen tank that's hooked up straight to the back of the cockpit, and that's where your conveyor system runs through the cockpit. It connects to the hydrogen tank and everything else. So basically what you'll have is you'll have stored oxygen for the pilot, and of course you'll be able to refuel your oxygen bottles for the rest of the crew that way. There's still the vent on the bottom, which you can use for breathable atmosphere planets. Since we've moved the forward-facing thrusters, the thrusters you use for reverse, to, well, hydrogen thrusters first of all, and moved them up, it's a lot more stable design as far as being able to survive wrecks. Since one of the problems we had with a few more tests was that where these guns are, having the reverse thrusters there, they did kind of tend to get sheared off especially since you're more likely to hit it going forward than any other direction. Now, we've also added in there a projector. Of course, projector is fairly standard fare these days for having it for repairing a ship, but also the premise of the design is that you would take this ship, fly down to a planet, set up, and then you'd use your projector to project a small, basically, station that you could use as a starting point for building whatever you need to establish a presence on the planet. So you'd fly down, you'd have all your building materials in the medium cargo container, you'd use your projector to project that, and just start building that, and of course once you've built what you can, you'd fly back up, resupply, bring down more supplies, and build further onto it. Now, I've done some testing with it, and I've had no problems so far with this thing flying down into atmosphere, using the hydrogen thrusters for maneuvering, and still having plenty of power to get back up to the ship. So you shouldn't have too much problem with this, and since it only has a medium cargo container on it, it's not going to haul so much that it's going to have extra strain from any additional weight that you might throw on there. Pretty much it's all we need it to be right now. We're going to start working on, of course, the larger cargo container variant that we went over in the previous video, and then a carry-all variant, which is going to attach to ground vehicles and whatnot, and actually lift and carry those. So that was what we'll work on next for our small craft. Now, I do want to point on to what it's attached to here. This is our first mock-up of a small utility corvette, short-range utility carrier corvette. Basically, the gist of it is that this is what you would tote around between stations and planets with your atmospheric craft on it to go and maintain any of your facilities there. As you can see, it's got a heavy armor hardtop to it, and it's got recessed connectors in there with plenty of space for it. There's actually a ramp on either side, which goes down into it. It's got a gravity generator, of course. And it's very compact design on the inside. One thing you'll notice here in a second is those doors are going to close. Every 10 seconds there's a timer block that is closing all the doors on the ship. So you won't have to worry about leaving doors open. Alright, so here you are in the main hold for the ship. You can see the antenna, you can see the cryopods, the batteries, a couple of small cargo containers, which are pretty much on par with the size of a medium cargo container on a small ship, considering it's a large one. We go up to the next area. That is just around the large hydrogen tank, of course. And then we come onto the bridge here, where you see our gravity generator, our 3 seats, and timer block. Of course, it's got an oxygen tank buried in the back as well. And that's pretty much that for this ship design. I do kind of like how I ended up getting the window to work. This was actually the biggest problem with it. I honestly redid the front several times until I got it close enough to what I wanted. Basically, it's, like I said, designed to go between stations and whatnot, so it gives you a very movie-esque look right here, that you can come over a planet or a station and just look down here at it. There's lights throughout it, which I added on just because of how dark it was. That does happen with the timer block, though, so it just closed as soon as I hit it. Alright, so there's lights that I added to combat the darkness of it, of course. They're not really necessary. If they do cause any kind of performance issues, of course you can just turn those off. And let's come back up here. And the sides are the same. There's 3 solar panels on each side and 1 oxygen generator on each side. That's solar powered, so basically the ship itself can just face the sun and charge up both oxygen and power, and of course roll over the other side as the sun rotates around the map. The bottom doesn't have anything special on it. I just added this to kind of get rid of the completely flat look there. It just seemed a little odd. Not too shabby in my opinion. I don't know what else really to do with it. Of course, we've got our reverse thrusters on there. All in all, it's a very simple utility carrier design. And of course, we'll have other designs for larger ones, particularly our deep space utility carrier corvette. We're actually going to redo with a similar design for the hardtop area and use it with the new dropships. Well, that pretty much covers what we've done here. You get to see the final evolution of the design for the dropship. And just give you a quick example here. I don't have the mods installed, but let's see, where is it? It is around here somewhere. Ah, there it is. Alright, so like I said, I don't have the mods installed, I believe, but that'll give you an idea of what the original design looked like. Rather ugly, in case you've forgotten from the previous videos. And within just a week's worth of gaming time, we went from that design to this sleek looking vessel here, which has definitely got a lot more features built into it, a lot more survivability than the original design, and the weight is not much different at all. They're fairly close to the same weight, and of course this is a slightly smaller ship. Alright, so hope that was helpful and inspirational for you guys as always, and of course, as always, have a good day.